is brief 2 of assignment B5, and this was the more difficult one, and the one that I spent more time on. It was really difficult. This one was. I think it was because we never used Fmod before, and it was the fact that we had to get to grips with a new software that we wasn't so comfortable with. I'd say. I mean, once we got used to it and we had work on it, and I don't know whether people did their like time at home and spent time practicing at home, but I spent time practicing at home on Fmod as it was new to me. I'd never seen it before, and I thought if I spend extra time on practice of it, then it'll get me to grips with the software, and so when it comes to actually my final Fmod piece, it'll just be easier, and if I have an understanding and a knowledge of it. But to start off with the games music, first it was hard as well because I don't play video games at all, which was pretty difficult because I've played FIFA with my brother, but it's it's not the same. Like, it's just not the same really. So I branched out to people in my class and I went, games is there? What games is there? And they gave me a list. They gave me a list of games to go off. So I wrote these games down, and I put these into a creative package. And I made my own creative package for this one. And I went and I did a lot of research on what games, what the music is like for each game, and how like the and just what genre, or what instruments are used and whatnot, or just the basics of it. How is it sounding? Is one game's music completely different to the other? So I put a lot of like a creative package together here, and I just put like kind of my take on what like I thought the music sounded like. So for like, I've put a link to some of the games that I put there. But the ones such as God of War, I did write, and I originally went for that one, and I had quite a few problems with it. So I didn't do as much research on this one as I would have liked in the beginning. So when it came to this, then I chose God of War, listened to a few soundtracks here and there on YouTube, and then I went, you know what, here we go. I'm just going to go and dive straight in. I split it up, and I went, okay, I'm going to just write 5 sections. I don't know what each phase is. I'm just going to write it and see what I get. And if I'm being honest, I did really like it. But when it came to showing others in my class, they went, it doesn't fit God of War. It's too happy. And I said, will it fit any game? And they went, maybe not. It's a difficult one. So I went, oh, are you joking? And I thought, I've done all this work for nothing. But then, so I was really annoyed that I was proud of something, but it just didn't fit the criteria whatsoever. So I'll show you what I mean. How the feedback that I got was, and now looking back at it, I can understand, and I can, compared to the project that I've got now, I can just understand massively how they said it, the mood and how happy it is. It wouldn't have fit the game. there's some things in there that I really like. So, for example, Phase 3 and Phase 5 were my favourite ones that I think I've produced a really good piece of work here. Um, the others I'm not so sure about but I think, and I would have worked on them if I chose it. But definitely Phase 3 and Phase 5 were my favourite ones, and I really, really liked it. But so when it came to that point where people were going, it's too happy, it wouldn't fit a game of what you were trying to achieve, I thought, okay, this sucks. I really, really wanted to. I thought there's some elements in here that are really good and some are really, really bad. But I thought, okay, we'll start from scratch. We'll actually research. We'll put the research in. We'll put the effort in, and we'll show. We'll show the We'll show what we can do. There's some things in this piece that were really good, like the melodies. How the melodies, like I love some of the melodies. Especially in Phase 3 and Phase 5. Here. I just loved how this really complemented each other. And I also loved how just like I implemented some, like, from my brief one, really, how I implemented some brief one into it, how I just did this little bass staccato notes. I really loved how I took the playing techniques from brief one and brought them over into brief two. How it just gives it that drive. But as I said, it just really, it weren't to the standard, and it wouldn't have fit the brief, and it would have completely ruined the grade. So I scrapped it. I thought, I didn't scrap it completely, but I took elements of it, and I thought, oh, I like how this played, but I might play it in a different key, or I might play it in a minor way instead of major, but I will tell you that I did keep Phase 5 because it was because when we go over into the actual piece, it actually complements it really well. But other than that, I took the elements. I kept the structure in to help me visualise it better. So Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3, Phase 4, Phase 5. I kept that structure base way. But I actually researched a game going on and saw what each phase is about, actually. Not how... I didn't go and just went, this is Phase 1 and this is how it's going to be. It dies here. I went, well, this is Phase 1. What is happening in Phase 1? So I did a layout. On how I wanted how the game structured. But before I even did that, I did even more research than that. So I went and I saw who are the best game composers. And I've seen this guy here, but I didn't really need to go into who are the best film composers. I just wanted to see how they composed. Did they have the game in front of them, and did they compose to that, or did they just completely do it blindsided, or did they listen to previous tracks of Halo, or did they listen to other games' music to get them in the element? And here he Bear, he just he had the game in front of him. Well, it depends on what he wanted to do, but certain games he had in front of him, and he visually sat and wrote his the music to that game, or other times he just did what he wanted to do, and then it fit any game that he wanted. But I chose the game Halo because this would fit my 5 stages, and after some research of the track and everything, it actually was a good. I could really experiment with it. So I went and researched what instruments they use, And it's again from Brief One. It's a lot of string instruments, orchestra feel. Um, but what is different is that it's not Edwardian style music. It can be any style that you want it to be. It could be a good upbeat orchestra. It could be slow. Um, so yeah, so that's the difference within this one. Um, so I also looked as well at what are the best video game soundtracks. Um, to see whether I need more modern instruments or whether I need more older instruments. And here there's a variety. There's a lot of soundtracks that are from 1995, but then some from 2011 or 2015. So so I could have used a range of instruments, maybe some more um, older instruments, and incorporate it and intertwine it with some modern instruments, and that's what I did. But and then I didn't like the sound of the older instruments. Um, it just didn't fit. So I went, you know what, we're going to scrap the older instruments and we'll put more of a. It would just make it more modern and use more modern instruments. So also before I even went and written the game's music, after that, after I just went right, I'm going to do research. I went and searched how was games music written. So a lot of people went in as an approach as take it as a film. Take it as it's like a film because the game is telling a story. So just let your music tell a story, which I found really helpful, and it was really intriguing to see how a lot of composers of games music took the interpretation of that the game was a film, as it tells a story. It does. For example, for Halo, you're roaming around and then you go into the journey, and as you're going into the journey, someone's approaching, and as obviously when that happens, the music changes, which I found really helpful. So once that happened, I then went and listened to the Halo soundtrack. I really engulfed myself into the soundtrack. I wanted to make sure I was listening to the right instruments, making sure I could hear anything so slight in the background, but then also anything that was in your face. And I wrote everything down on a piece of paper, just little notes on what instruments that and basically what I could hear. And this is what I took inspiration from. So with this, there's a lot of quick interchanging melodies. There's a lot of this texture is a lot of polyphonic. It starts off monophonic where there's just a melody line, but then loads of other melody lines or loads of other things keep coming in and clashing. And then it has a big rise and then it just stops, which I found it really interesting actually. I hadn't listened to any of this music before, and I went straight in blind and I just went, I'm gonna write this music. And what I'd got compared to this is completely different, and I can tell it wouldn't have fit the brief. So I carried on. I kept listening to all Halo style music, whether it was all different songs in Halo or whether it was just a theme track. I just kept engulfing myself in so much of the Halo music.